Everyone should be in now.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm calling this public hearing to order at 6 p.m. in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGLC 131, Section 40, and the Boston Wetlands Ordinance, Boston City Code Ordinances, Chapter 7-1.4. The Boston Conservation Commission will hold this virtual public hearing this evening on April 2nd, 2025, to review the following projects to determine what conditions, if any, the Commission will impose in order to protect the interest of the public and private water supply, groundwater, prevention of pollution, flood control, prevention of storm damage, protection of fisheries and land containing shellfish, and protection of wildlife habitat. This evening's hearings will be followed by our regular meeting. In accordance with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, we are conducting this meeting online to ensure public access to the deliberations of the Conservation Commission. The public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. Additionally, the meeting is being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, please turn off your video. Members of the public may have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand or type in the chat the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 and *6 to unmute yourself. Send your questions to staff via email at is it cc@boston.gov now?
It is.
It is. Okay. Okay. I'll try that again. Send your questions to staff via email at cc@boston.gov. Okay. For the record, I am Michael Parker, Chair of the Commission. Could staff please identify themselves?
Elena Edamari with the with the Environment Department.
Dee Dee Hernandez with the Environment Department.
Vivian De La Paz with the Environment Department.
Okay, thank you. I'll call the roll of commissioners present. Commissioner Sullivan?
John Sullivan.
Commissioner Wilson?
Mike Wilson.
Commissioner Conan?
Conan Thiruvengadam.
Commissioner Richmond?
Alice Richmond.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, first item that's on the agenda this evening is at the request of the applicant being continued. We had an issue with the abutters notice. There's someone who has their, Tony, you have your audio on. Could you please mute yourself? Thank you. So the first item, go ahead.
Apologies. The first item, it's the second item that was continued. The first item was the NOI last hearing.
Okay. Okay, so on my sheet here, okay, let's make sure we have the right items here. So the first item from Collins Engineering for 006-2033 is still on, right?
Correct, yes, and they've been issued their DEP file number.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you. Okay, so first item on the agenda is notice of intent for DEP file number 006-2033 from Collins Engineers, Inc. on behalf of the Massachusetts Port Authority for the proposed repairs to the existing concrete deck, beams, pier walls, and fascia beams on the Boston Line parcel at 1 Black Falcon Avenue, South Boston, waterfront, resource areas or land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal bank, 100-foot buffer to coastal bank. This was continued from the March 19th, 2025 hearing. We had a full hearing. What was missing is was the DEP file number, which we now have. Elena, has there been any comments from DEP that we need to be aware of?
No, not for this project.
Okay. Who's here on behalf of the applicant?
I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Commissioner or Chair Parker, Chet Myers from the Massachusetts Port Authority.
Okay. Anything to add since our last hearing? I don't have anything in my notes here. I think we covered everything.
Are you asking me, Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, nothing to add. I'm just here in case there were additional questions. It sounded like everything was wrapped up as of the last meeting, with the exception of the filing number.
Yep. Order conditions are okay.
I believe we already submitted comments, and I believe they were accepted.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Sullivan?
No
any
questions.
additional questions?
Nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson?
None here either, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Conan?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Richmond?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Elena, anybody from the public raise their hand?
I do not see any raised hands, and we also don't have any emails about this. I did just want to flag that from the last hearing, we had discussed a special condition requiring a prior to construction item of the plan or of an updated plan showing where the manhole would go if it is installed. But other than that, we didn't have anything else to add.
We have no problem with that condition.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion to issue the order of conditions with a special condition that should manhole be constructed, that plans would be submitted to staff, and close the hearing.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Conan,
Aye.
Commissioner Richmond,
Aye.
and I vote aye. That carries 5-0. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so it's the next item here, notice of intent for DEP file number 006-2032 from Foth Infrastructure and Environment LLC on behalf of the Massachusetts Port Authority for the proposed collection of 10 soil core samples within the reserve channel at Conley Terminal, 800 to 900 East First Street in South Boston, resource areas, land under ocean in designated port area. That is the hearing that is being continued due to public notice issues. Public notice didn't get to the abutters in time. So with that, I would entertain a motion to continue this notice of intent.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Conan,
Aye.
Commissioner Richmond,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So that carries 5-0. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a request for a determination of applicability from LEC Environmental Consultants, Inc. on behalf of Allendale Farm for the demolition of the retail farm stand building, including 2 greenhouse structures, 1 wood frame building and 1 2-story brick building at Allendale Farm, 259 Allendale Street in Jamaica Plain. Who's here on behalf of the proponent?
Barry Fogel from Keegan Worland on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Helen Glotzer, who is the CEO of Allendale Farm, Edward Lawrence, who's one of the property owners, Mark Landry, who is the project contractor, and Andrea Kendall from LEC. Good evening.
Great. Floor's all yours.
I'm going to hand it over to Andrea. She's connected by telephone, but she can describe for you what we're proposing here.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Andrea Kendall with LEC. Perhaps my video is working. I'm not sure, but I don't need to be show myself really. But so the project before the commission tonight is an RDA for Allendale Farm, and they seek to demolish their existing retail farm stand building located just to a small degree within the 100-foot buffer zone to Bank of Pond. Next slide, please. And if people are familiar with Allendale Farm, this is one particular parcel of their property. In the lower left-hand corner is their retail operations center, which is comprised of the farm stand building, greenhouse, parking, etc. To just beyond the operation center to the right is a pond, and on the lower right-hand side of that is a bordering vegetated wetland. So the 100-foot buffer zone extends to a small degree within, it includes just a small part of the farm stand building, which is comprised of 4 interconnected buildings, 2 greenhouses, a wood frame building, and then a 2-story brick building structure. If you can go to the next slide, please. So here's just some on the ground images of the farm stand buildings that will be demolished and removed. There is In the lower right-hand side is an image of the two-story brick building. There is a basement associated with that will be filled in with clean fill, and then once everything is removed, the site will be restored with a sandy gravel material consistent with what's adjacent to the site. Next slide, please. And if it helps, maybe zoom in for people, but all the demolition activity and the placement of equipment and vehicle movement will occur outside the buffer zone. The yellow line shows is the 100-foot buffer zone to bank, and it shows just how to a small degree the buildings are located within buffer zone. We'll be placing an erosion control barrier on the north side of the building to demarcate the project limit, so to speak. There'll also be some fencing that will surround the entire project area. All the material will be, as it's demolished, will be put in containers and then trucked away to an approved licensed facility, waste facility. We're hoping to get started with the project as soon as feasible, so that the farm can continue using the site for their staging and storage and operations center for this spring. Any questions? Did I cover everything that everybody would like?
Sure.
I think I
Okay,
removed-
thank you, Andrea. Could you go over your erosion control measures?
Yeah, sure. Maybe we can go back to this previous slide. The green dashed line shows the erosion controls, the thicker light green. And I believe that's going to be either straw wattles or compost filter tubes. And those are actually already demarcated. I will say that the asbestos has been removed from the building, and there is an existing cesspool that I don't know the status of coordinating with the Board of Health, but that's in coordination with them to kind of who will approve that removal and decommissioning of that cesspool.
I can jump in there, Mr. Chairman, if I could. So just to be clear, the cesspool has been pumped and we're coordinating with the Board of Health on crushing that in place. No excavation for that. The building, the building that's being removed is the one that's in the darkest gray. So it's sort of shaped like a staple. And again, that all the work will be conducted from the upland side toward Allendale Street. All the equipment and trucks and roll-offs for removal will all be conducted on that parking area to the south. And it's a flat space, as those photos showed.
Okay, so we're confident that the limit of the erosion controls, that's enough there. It doesn't need to be extended in either way. Or I'm thinking, or how do I get oriented here? If north is up to the east, because it feels like, is that where all your trucks are going to come in? And
no, they're coming in from the Allendale Street on the south.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I thought I saw two curb cuts. Okay.
Yeah.
So
they're so any visitors will come in on that one to the right. And the trucks for construction and all that will all go in and out through that western exit.
Okay. And we're sure about that. Like what's going to prevent, because as you know, like where we get burned with a lot of the means and methods for construction is sometimes the contractors don't follow the directions that they're given.
Well, that's why that purple fence, you'll see the purple line, that's going to be a temporary construction fence that will keep them within that space.
Okay.
Because farm work activity will continue on. Anybody going to the north up past that orange structure will not enter there. And any customers, and again, this is hopefully going to be done very soon. So there, it'll be a couple of weeks at most, and then that will be stabilized.
Okay. Okay.
And just want to add one more thing, just so folks know that the long-term objective is to build 2 new structures there. We've been through the BPD board and got site plan review approval last month. And so we're going to continue permitting, and a notice of intent will be filed with you in a few months for the construction of the new structures. But this demolition will allow the farm to use that space. Right now, that building is really not usable. So they'll be able to use the open flat area in the spring here when customers come to buy plants and the like. So this is going to be sort of the interim stable site before the construction.
Okay, understood. So great segue into my next question/comment. We've had a few projects, or we had one project at least that we spent a good amount of time on in Allendale, on Allendale Road. And what was represented to us, and we saw this through site visits, is the runoff to the intermittent stream that goes to the vernal pool area is not the best upstream. And so the project we were looking at, the proponent on many occasions said, well, stormwater is coming into our property and it's degraded. It's not the best of quality when we get it. So we're doing what we can here to make it better. Now, very sensitive area. We have an urban wild not too far from there. So have you, and I don't think this would be a regulatory requirement, but if it is, that would be great to know about. And we'll be talking about this more in depth at the NOI stage. But is there any water quality testing associated with the farm activity?
I am not aware of that, but we can certainly inquire with Allendale Farm.
Do you
Okay.
mean from the agricultural fields?
Yeah.
Helen Glotzer is on the call. Do you know, Helen, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Are you specifically speaking about testing of the pond?
Yeah, I mean, it could be the pond, it could be, runoff from the farm activities. And Barry, you might know this as well. I'm not aware of any permit, like a NIPD's permit or something like that, that would be associated with this type of farming activity because of its size.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, but just to stay on the point, so part of the NOI will be a stormwater management plan for the parking area and for the buildings. There's going to be much improved stormwater management, meeting DEP and your standards as well. So that's all going to be part of it. But at the moment, that pond does not receive runoff from any of the fields. That's a groundwater pond.
Right.
And drains to the wetland that is, you can see that to the east, southeast, if you will, and then it culverts out under Allendale Street. But we haven't, I mean, Helen, you can speak to whether there's been any testing. I don't think there has been.
Yeah, we don't do any significant testing on the pond that you're looking at here. We do some we have a summer camp, and sometimes the kids are in that area, so we do test for water safety in that way. But out in there are no agricultural fields really anywhere near this pond. So we do testing like that out on our center pond, which is actually over the line in Brookline. And we do soil testing and water testing and all of that annually, but not on this pond because it doesn't have any, there is no agricultural runoff to this pond.
Okay, understood. Good to know. And Barry, appreciate your point about the stormwater system, the improvements when you comply with the stormwater management requirements. So we're getting there. That's good. That's good. And interested in, obviously, the NOI when it comes through. Eleanor, what do you have on this?
I didn't have anything to add. I think the water quality questions were my only outstanding questions. I did just quickly want to extend our condolences on behalf of the Concom team for Willard's passing. We heard about that and we're just so sorry to hear about that, but we feel really lucky that we got to meet him last week.
Thank you so much for saying that, and I am so glad that you got to see him and Curtis out there together. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, they were
Just
really
so,
cool.
so folks know, he was a Highland steer. They have 2 Highland steers there. We're talking about one of their 2 famous Highland steers.
Yeah, they've been here with us for 17 years, so it was a big loss for the whole community, I think. Thank you, Eleanor.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yeah, I enjoyed the little discussion of the runoff, but could you tell me that today, does the runoff head east as sheet flow, or does the runoff head out to Allendale?
The
Conditions
so
today.
The runoff goes to the pond. You mean from like the buildings and parking area, Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, from the whole area that's inside the purple, where you're going to be
Oh,
mucking
yeah.
up stuff. Where does the runoff go today? And then when you get through leveling the land with however you do it, where will the runoff go after that?
Mark, you may know, I think right now it infiltrates. That's not a paved parking area, so it infiltrates the ground there. But
Yes, as far as I know, there's no visible runoff that I'm aware of to the pond or to the street. As Barry said, this whole area is basically sandy gravel, and to my knowledge, it just infiltrates into the ground.
Right, but so it's perfectly level and it infiltrates in the ground. Or if it's pitched, say it freezes, the ground freezes, water can't infiltrate into frozen ground. So where would it go if we had a frozen condition? I realize this is only temporary and you want to get building everything else and with an improved system. But I'm just wondering, you disturb the earth and it's as good as you can compact it or whatever. If it rains, the water wants to go somewhere. So does it head towards the green barrier you have there?
yes, yeah, if the area that's going to be affected after the building is taken down, it would be in that area, and that's the erosion control there would keep anything while it's being stabilized from reaching the pond.
Right, so
Right.
the green area will stay in place.
Yes, our intention is to leave the erosion control in place in the interim between demolition of this building and throughout the construction of the new buildings.
Okay, so Eleanor, that would be my only concern, is that we have that as a condition, that they do that, and then you guys can check on it, make sure it's in place, working.
Yeah, we'll maintain that and repair as necessary.
That sounds good. We could, Commissioner Sullivan, would you prefer photos be submitted to commission staff before any work begins, or?
No, they can set it up, do their work, and
Great.
then somehow contact you guys once a month, or you can go do surprise visits to see what other critters they have out in the area, meet some more animals, and be happy.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
and Eleanor,
that's all I had.
okay, and I would add to that it remain in working condition. So it's not compressed and it retains its efficacy.
Perfect.
Okay, Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, I guess to sort of Commissioner Sullivan's point, as I recall when I was out there last, at least, which is probably a year ago. How do I describe it? So the blue arrow that's coming from the top right, and then that's sort of where the arrowhead is, and where the green dash line top left corner meet, there's sort of like a wide double black line there. I recall it's sort of like a rivulet, and sort of seems like it's been eroded, that goes down to the pond, and there's like a hose that gets buried, and there's a little stepping stony type thing there. I guess that could be catching water from outside of the purple dotted line, but I was wondering if that was sort of whether the erosion control would be mitigating some of that or not.
So Helen, I don't know if you want to interject, but my understanding is that that was the basement, the sump pump would direct water into that area, clean groundwater, which would make its way to the pond. And once everything is removed and area stabilized, there will be no source for that water. In any case, we can coordinate maybe moving or encircling the erosion control to capture that area.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I mean, if the source shuts off, then that'll certainly help, but hopefully sort of the parking lot stuff is not finding its way in there and sort of preferentially draining into a single swale or whatnot.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and I-
not touching parking lot runoff.
I would add, yes, no, it's not at all. It is entirely groundwater being pumped out of the basement, and we've shut down power to that building. So the sump is no longer functional and we're no longer pumping out the basement. So that
Okay.
Sort of trench that was created there is not really doesn't have much purpose anymore.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thanks for explaining that.
Thanks for noticing. That's very observant.
I'm excited to see the new farm stand. Yeah. So, thank you.
We notice everything, hopefully.
But to Commissioner Wilson's point, one of the things we mentioned to the staff when they were out for the inspection is that as part of the NOI, we are intending to offer some native non-cultivars for planting on the bank, on the slope to the pond, without tall growing plants, just to maintain the view to the pond, which if folks have seen it or come see it, but to create some native plantings on that slope in that area where Mr. Wilson was talking about.
Okay, was that a commitment to do it now or in the upcoming NOI?
Yeah, that would be part of the NOI.
Okay, got it. Great, thank you. Commissioner Khanna?
Thanks, Chair Parker. Yeah, that's exciting to hear about the NOI and the tree planting plans. This is an RDA though. I appreciate the questions about stormwater, and I was wondering about the same thing, but I'm happy with the discussion so far. I'm just wondering how much of the work is going to happen in the buffer zone?
So I don't have the exact square footage of that, but on this slide, the 100-foot buffer zone is I'll say the beige or light orange dashed line located just south of the thicker dash green line. So the building is just barely in the buffer zone.
Some of the building is in the buffer zone.
Yeah, but not, yeah.
Maybe like a 5% or 10% of the building. It's very hard to estimate, but to your point, it's not most of the building. It's a small amount of the building, but there is work happening in the buffer zone. And can you describe the nature of that work?
Right. So it includes the removal of the building. And to the extent that the basement, it looks like a little bit of the brick building is in the basement, it's in the buffer zone, which has a basement. So the backfill of that basement with clean fill topped with a sandy gravel material, which will match existing grades. And the cesspool, I believe, is also in the buffer zone. So as Barry described, that the cesspool frame, so to speak, ultimately will be, the frame will just be caved in, and then the area backfilled with clean material as well. And so it's essentially just building removal and restored to with sandy gravel material.
Thank you. So there's earthwork involved. Do you know how deep the digging is going to be?
There's no digging. It's just removal of the building material, and where they expose the basement, they'll leave everything in place and then just backfill with material and then slight grading.
So the foundation will be left in place.
That's correct.
I see. So the work is only up to grade level or
That's
down?
correct. Mhm.
You can see do you see the white outline that is
Yeah.
bisected by the yellow line?
Yeah, I
That's
see
that
that.
little rectangle is the only area where there's basement.
I see. Why is the building being removed?
It's quite old, obsolete, and Helen can probably describe more, but it's just in very poor condition. If it would help, we can move back to the on the ground slides.
Well,
The
while you're doing that, the answer is that the farm for almost 60 years has been operating a retail farm stand operation in that building. And they have now embarked on this very popular, frankly, project to replace that with two new buildings, a retail market barn and a retail greenhouse on the same footprint. And so this is to get that building out of the way so they can create the new buildings.
Great, thank you. So this being an RDA, is your assertion that the work being done here, whether it's inside or the outside the buffer zone, is going to have no impact on the wetland, on the pond?
Correct, right. This is the buffer zone to the bank, which is right down near the edge of the pond. And so the performance standard for buffer zone to bank is to not do anything that would destabilize the bank, which is pretty much impossible here. We're not doing any work on the bank. And so everything is being done. The part that's in the buffer will certainly not affect the ability of the bank to contain the pond water, to provide habitat and so forth. So not only are we not doing any work on the bank, but it fully meets the performance standard of not affecting or altering in any way the bank itself.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that. And Chair Parker, I think maybe we'll come back to this. There is a note that Commissioner Sullivan has put here in the chat. We need to require that the foundation, which is to remain, must be punctured so water cannot accumulate in it, causing an unstable area. And so basically the point you made before with the suggestion.
Yeah, I can address.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So it's an old fieldstone foundation, and we will pull any parts of the foundation above grade will get probably knocked into the hole. But the foundation is of such poor quality that the reason they have to have a sump pump in there is that it leaks like a sieve currently. So
it's already punctured, you're saying?
Pretty much, yes. But if there's any doubt, we can have the excavator pull out some additional stones in selected areas.
Great, thank you. That's all, Chair Parker.
Thank you. Before I go to you, Commissioner Richmond, just want to remind members of the public to provide public comment. Please raise your hand or type in the chat in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 and *6 to unmute yourself, or send your questions to staff via email at cc@boston.gov. Commissioner Richmond?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Is the cesspool still being used?
It is not being used. In fact, we have a meeting scheduled for next Monday, the 7th, with a woman from the Board of Health. She's going to witness it being put out of commission.
So I assume that the facility is connected to a sewer now?
Oh, no, the cesspool was being used until the building was vacated.
Okay, so what happens? You have to are you going to put a new cesspool in, or is it going to go to
No, the new buildings.
a sewer?
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, the plan is so when in 2018, we built a new building on this property, at which time we brought in sewer to the property. And so the plan is when this new building is done, we'll connect to the sewer line that we brought it onto the site in 2018.
And will you have to do excavation in this area to do that?
There will be excavation, but it will be outside of the buffer zone for the sewer.
Oh, okay, but, and there'll be some way of making sure that that excavation doesn't impinge on the buffer zone?
Well,
Yeah,
that'll all be described in the notice of intent. If there's any work in the buffer zone, it would be very shallow, maybe burying utilities, but not deep. And certainly nothing that would destabilize the slope above the bank of the pond. That'll all be addressed in the notice of intent.
Okay, and I heard something early on and I wasn't sure I understood the entire thing. These buildings have now been abandoned, is that correct?
Yes, they're not in operation currently.
So they're and I heard, and I don't remember perhaps, and I don't know her last name, I mean no respect, but the one who said Andrea's iPhone. You said something about the asbestos being removed from these buildings?
Right, that's, if you can see on the lower image on the right, Commissioner Richmond, that you can see a roof above that peak, above the two windows.
Yeah,
There was a slate roof that had some adhesive that was removed. And inside the building, there was a small space that had about 100 square feet of tile that was removed. All the permitting for that went through Mass DEP and the local agencies. All of that work was outside buffer. And we communicated with Elena and Dee Dee about that and let them know it was happening in case they got phone calls or anything like that.
and it's hard to see that because the way my screen is displaying, you are right there on the bottom right-hand picture, but let me just ask, is there, you folks are confident that there's no other asbestos somehow washed into the buffer zone?
Right. Definitely. We had licensed contractors both do the asbestos evaluation and all the work.
So
And Mark has all the documentation of that.
okay, so that just to repeat it one more time, there's nothing in any of these abandoned buildings that, if it doesn't get removed properly, or if there's some sort of a major weather event, it's not going to be running down that slope into that pond.
Correct.
well, that's
In fact-
correct. We had the building inspected for hazardous materials, and so as Barry mentioned, those materials on the roofing and the tile were the only asbestos-containing materials in these buildings.
And there is nothing else that you know of that would be a contaminant.
Correct.
This is not.
And things like paint and other kinds of things that could mess up the downslope is going to be removed because everything is going to come out towards Allendale and away from the buffer zone.
That's right. If you could go to the slide, the aerial view that showed the figure with the arrows, if you could change the screen to that. Yeah, so you can see that whole area between the 25-foot waterfront area, which is the orange line near the pond, and that green, all of that area is flat.
Right.
And so all the work's occurring on the street side, and nothing will be occurring even on that flat surface.
Can you show me where the current the new sewer line is?
Mark, I think it comes in, does it come in almost where that purple line is on the left?
It does, yeah. It comes right up that driveway to the left of that purple line that indicates where construction fence is going. And that orange rectangle on the far left of this diagram, that's the building that we built in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So the sewer comes up that driveway and angles towards that building.
Angles towards that building. So your theory is that you're just going to be able to angle the sewer line down to the two new buildings that you're going to build.
Yeah, about halfway between the street and that new building, we put a manhole, and so that's where we'll be tying in the sewer for this new building.
Okay, so halfway down the street, if I'm looking at the left-hand purple dashed line, it's
Yep.
going to be halfway down that line.
Approximately, yep.
Okay, so well out of the buffer zone, and presumably it's not going to, your excavation to attach it is not going to get anywhere near the buffer zone?
No, that's correct, yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Your help, your answers have been very helpful. I appreciate it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Elena, any raised hands? Any emails?
Nope, I don't see any raised hands and no emails either.
Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability with our standard erosion controls, and also a condition that the erosion controls will be kept in place and maintained after the work. And also, if necessary, the foundation will be punctured to prevent instability.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Chair, but I'm now very confused. I thought that the applicant was talking about an NOI. That's not going to happen?
No, the NOI is, they are requesting a negative determination of applicability for the demolition of the buildings. They're
Okay.
coming back with an NOI for the project writ large. So in other
All
words,
right, I
the
understand.
questions you
Thank
asked about
I
the
was-
sewer, yeah, the questions you asked about the sewer, that'll all be in the NOI.
Yep, thank you very much. I was confused.
You're welcome. Okay,
So moved.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, and close the hearing. I vote aye.
Thank you. Thank you. And close the hearing. Thank you for that friendly amendment. So Commissioner Sullivan is aye, Commissioner Wilson is aye. No, I'm sorry, Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Conan,
Aye.
Commissioner Richmond,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so that carries 5-0. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
all.
much. Good night.
Appreciate the staff help as well.
Great.
Thank
Good
you.
to hear. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is a request for an amendment and extension to the original order of conditions for DEP file number 0061883 in Boston, file number 2022-041 from Norwood Engineering Company, Inc. on behalf of 1817 River Street LLC for a proposed revision to the grass basin for TSS removal at 1817 River Street in Hyde Park. Resource areas, 25-foot waterfront area, 100-foot buffer to inland bank, and 100-foot buffer to BVW. Who's here on behalf of the proponent?
Hi, my name's Alex, Norwood Engineering.
Great. Okay. So Elena, what do you have on this? Let's set the table a little bit for Alex.
Yes, absolutely. So the context for this project is that, of course, they're coming back for an amendment and an extension. So they have been issued an order of conditions. And we had a conversation with them earlier this year about whether or not the commission would want to see the grass basin for TSS removal included. It had originally not been constructed as part of the initial work for this project, but had been permitted under the initial order of conditions. And because there has been a change in the plan to that basin, we recommended that they come back for an amendment so that the commission can hear more about that and determine whether it's still basically going to be doing adequate stormwater management on the site. We conducted a site visit on March 27th, and yeah, I think that that's sort of the important preliminary information. The reason that the applicant is requesting an extension as well is just to ensure that there's enough time to get this basin constructed, because it's added a bit to the timeline.
Okay.
Alex, I think if you want to speak more to the details of the basin, that would be helpful.
Sure. If you go, I think either the next slide or the slide after that, I'm not quite. Yeah, continue one more. This is the overall site. This was, oh yeah, so this was the basin that was originally approved. You can see there's the driveway, the wall, and it's a, Yeah, there's the large basin, grass basin for TSS removal, loam and seed. And if you could go to the next slide. That's the basin we now propose. It's the same, I mean, it's meant to do the same exact thing. We just had to change the dimensions and slightly the depth of it because of there was a difference in the way the wall was constructed versus what was proposed. And because of that, we're just looking to revise not really the location of the basin, but kind of just the size of it and how it works.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, I love, open up to any questions.
Sure. So the only work is going to be on the basin. So everything else in the plan is from the project writ large. It's already been done, right? Relocate trees and things like that, right?
So if I could, so the only thing that is going to, so it's the basin right there, there's 2 arrows to relocate trees. That's because of where the basin's going to be. Those trees will need to be relocated. Otherwise, everything shown on the plan has been constructed.
Okay, and the trees are trees that are not yet planted? They're not trees.
Those 2 have been planted. So yeah, that's why I think we noted that they need to be relocated rather than, or remove and replace, or however, it goes.
Okay, how old are they? Part of the project?
I think the construction, less than a year old.
Oh, okay, understood. Okay, thank you. Elena, did you have anything else?
Didn't have anything else to add. I think the primary question I have for the commission is just to ensure that, again, that the stormwater management seems adequate for the site.
Okay. Commissioner Sullivan, any opinions on that?
Well, yeah, was this all approved by the Water and Sewer? Do you have a change in plans? Was that sent over?
We did not send over anything for the basin for the TSS removal. We did note that, I mean, it's the same capacity as previously shown, same TSS removals, and it's double what was required in the first place. So that's, we haven't sent anything over because we assumed that because we didn't actually change any kind of specs that it would be okay, but we can send that over.
Oh, yeah, if you change location or size, it's a change.
Okay.
Well, it's just don't want to get you hung up because all of a sudden when they go and shut your water off because the plan's not the way you originally had them approved.
Right.
It makes life a lot easier, that's all.
Okay.
And then again, they'll quickly look at it, make sure everything you said works. But I don't understand where you're putting these trees. It says relocate them. Are you going to put them over in Roslindale or are you going to leave them on the site?
I assumed they would just be moved out of the way of the basin, kind of out of just that grade, the 59 there.
Yeah.
A couple feet.
It would always be nice just to show where you're doing it. Again, you're saying you're going to move the trees, but we don't know where. If you're going to put them in a resource area or you're going to move them somewhere else, it would just be nice to know. That's all. If you could probably show that later where you really intend to put them and send it in to staff, I wouldn't have any other issue.
Sure.
Okay. So out of that, we would be looking for Alex adding conditions that the basin itself, the modifications of the basin need to be approved by BWSC prior to construction, and also staff needs to see the location of the relocated trees.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, as soon as, I'll send the plans over to BWSC tomorrow, and then we'll get, as soon as they, let us know which direction, if they have any changes or anything like that, I'll move those trees over and, send you a plan.
Okay.
Or send
And
out
I'm
a
sure.
plan.
Okay, and Commissioner Sullivan will fast track that for sure. Before we go to Commissioner Wilson, as a reminder to members of the public to provide public comment, please raise your hand or type in the chat in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 and *6 to unmute yourself, or send your questions to staff via email at cc@boston.gov. Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, no questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Conan?
Thanks, Chair Parker. In the existing conditions pictures, I see some of the trees. I count about 3. How many are there?
In that, there's a total of 3 trees, but one of them isn't being affected, so it's 2 trees would have to be moved.
By like a few feet is your
Yes.
estimate. I see. And they're small enough that moving should be no problem.
Right, one's a 2.5-inch tree. I believe the other one, from memory, it's 1 or 1.5 inches.
Great. Thank you. That's also perfect.
Thank you. Commissioner Richmond?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Elena, anybody from the public? I saw a hand raised briefly. It's now down. I think it was Mahogany McCray.
I saw that as well. That was the only hand that I saw raised, and I don't believe that we have anything in the inbox for this.
Mahogany, did you have a comment or there you go?
You guys explained it. I'm the homeowner at 1813. But you guys ended up answering the question, so I thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion to amend the order of conditions to allow for the modifications to the grass basin with the added conditions that before construction, BWC has approved the plan for that modification to the grass basin, and that staff has received a plan regarding the tree relocation that they approve of. And then also extend the original order of conditions to be able to accomplish that work and close the hearing.
So moved.
Chair
Do we
Parker,
have a second? Yes,
apologies. I just wanted to clarify. Do you want to extend it by 3 years?
yes,
Perfect. Thank you.
sorry, by 3 years.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Conan,
Aye.
Commissioner Richmond,
Aye.
and I vote aye. That carries 5-0. Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Okay, there have been actually only one continuance. Continued notice of intent for DEP file number 0061996 and Boston file number 2024-021. We'll now begin our regular meeting. First item on our regular meeting agenda are administrative updates.
Thank you, Chair Parker. I have no administrative updates this time around.
Thank you. Last item on the agenda is acceptance of meeting minutes. I did look through February 19th. February 19th, 2025. And I just started December 11th, 2024, but didn't get through them. So I would entertain a motion to accept the meetings from February 19th, 2025.
So moved. Sorry.
Go. It's a tongue twister. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, thank you. Clever. Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Conan,
Aye.
Commissioner Richmond,
Aye.
and I vote 5-0. I vote aye. That carries 5-0. Okay. Motion to adjourn by acclamation. Any objections?
Yay.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.